Welcome to the Season 3 premiere of Reader Seeks Romance Channel's Romance Roundup, the #1 romance book recs talk show. I am Liz Donatelli.
And I'm Libby K., author of the sweet romance series Buckeye Falls.
Libby and I are sharing our most recent romance book recs and TBRs, and we share our fave episodes from the past 2 seasons.
Wow, 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 wow!
Watch Romance Roundup on Reader Seeks Romance Channel and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on PodBean and all podcast apps. Viewers and listeners can email us at readerseeksromance@yahoo.com. And follow us on Instagram at LibbyKAuthor and at Reader Seeks Romance. Hello, Libby. Congratulations on Season 3 of Romance Roundup.
Yes, Happy New Year, Liz. I was talking about this with my husband, and it feels, and I mean this in a good way, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, and at the same time, it also feels like we've been doing this longer than 2 seasons. Again, I mean, that is all positives.
It does, for sure. Do any favorite episodes from the past 2 seasons come to mind?
Episode 31, where we talked about book covers. That was one that came to mind really quickly for me because I felt like it was just the two of us having like a polite professional rant on this, on the status of book covers in romance publishing. So that one, it was a lot of fun for me to prepare for because I love, looking at the details and judging books by their cover. But I just felt like that was one of our more fun conversations.
I picked from Season 1, Episode 18, Spring 2024 Most Anticipated Romance Releases, in which we discussed upcoming spring romances with Nikki and Katie, booksellers from Gramercy Books in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes, that was a good one. And that was on, I was thinking 3, so that was not quite in my top 3, but that was a really good one. And I have gone back and read, I think, almost everything that they had suggested and really enjoyed. Yeah, and it's just always fun talking with them because they're a hoot.
Then I have for Season 2, Episode 25, which I think is like an instant classic. That was our Single Mom, Single Dad episode. And that was the origin of our official show mascot, Jimmy the Boy Coal Miner.
Yes, and that is why I didn't pick that one because I knew in my heart of hearts that you would pick that, Liz. So I'm like, I'm just going to let little Jimmy go and we're going to let Liz pick that one. So yeah, definitely that is a classic.
What's interesting is the show notes for that episode mention that Libby and Liz love sea captains. So we must have talked about sea captains. I think you mentioned some kind of historical romance, and then we talked about Christopher Plummer from Sound of Music.
Yes. Yeah, well, hello. I mean, I would talk about Christopher Plummer any day of the week. But yeah, and the funny thing is, I can't remember if I actually read, I don't think I did, or I would have remembered it, the book that we talked about with the sea captains. Like, I feel like I was excited, but I haven't read it yet. So I'll have to add that to the Liz and Libby report back for Season 3.
And I also put in the show notes old-timey coal mine humor. So we must have been making jokes throughout about coal mines and coal miners. So anyway, that was a fun one. And then I included Romfic Grab Bag, aka Perfect Episode of Chaos. That's the name you gave to the episode.
What do you have to put a little bow on this perfect episode of Chaos?
And that's number 38. That episode, the show notes mention the problem with ghost romance, Liz, Henry Cavill, and a rocking chair, and books so good they make Libby angry.
God, this is so good. I'm angry.
Yeah.
One of the favorites that I picked was episode 29, one of our Pride Month episodes, and we had AJ Truman on because we had obviously 2024 was the year of us falling in love with AJ Truman and specifically his Single Dad series. And for me, it was just exciting to fangirl with you over his books for, 45 minutes.
Yeah. I thought about that episode and I knew in my heart of hearts that you would pick it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to let Libby have AJ.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I felt like that episode was basically us saying, you're going to sit here and listen to all the things we like about your books.
Yes. Was that your 3?
Well, that was my second one. And my other one, and again, this is nothing against the other guests we've had on the show, was another one. It was our most recent Zoom call-in, episode 40. We had my cousin Carrie on, and then we had Logan Sage Adams, another huge find for us in 2024, as well as Juliet Cross and Brittany Joy. it was like the perfect balanced episode. And again, I know you do all the editing and I don't, but I felt like that one was our most like seamless Zoom call-in show because it was like our fourth. So we're old pros at that now. So I felt like
Yeah.
that was just like the whole package was just brilliant from where I sat.
Liz Donatelli here. As I edit this episode, I am realizing that the Zoom call-ins episode 40 is an almost perfect episode. I am not wearing my signature pink button-down shirt. I am wearing a black shirt. The reason being, I had forgotten to change my shirt after recording an episode of Romance Recap, the Golden Bachelorette season, which I co-hosted with my friend Tiffany Current. I hadn't realized until taking off my shirt that evening that I had worn the wrong shirt during the recording. Before we move on to the roundup, I just want to throw out a very special thank you to our number one fan, Emily, who has watched and commented on YouTube every single episode of Romance Roundup. And Emily,
Oh, Emily, we love you.
yeah, we love you, Emily. As soon as I post, I'm like, how long before Emily comments? Because I need to know that she's out there. So yeah, so thank you to Emily, and Brittany Joy is also a fan.
Mhm.
As we mentioned, author Brittany Joy. So if you want to become our number one fan, start commenting on YouTube. Also, I have decided this year I'm going to start shipping books to whoever wants them. So I've got all these romance books that I would like to share with our romance fans.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And one of those books is Butcher and Blackbird?
Yeah.
Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
So real quick, and I'm not going to mention this in a Liz Reports Back because it is not a book I finished or really got into, but it's a fave of Libby's. I want to let everyone know I did try it. I read about 70 pages. It's not for me. If someone out there would like to read it, I'd be more than happy to mail it to you free of charge with I'll even sign the book for you. So if you want a copy of Butcher and Blackbird, please email me at readerseeksromance@yahoo.com. There's only one thing left to say, and that's, Libby, let the roundup begin.
Giddy up, Liz. Here we go. Okay. So I know we don't have a proper theme for today, and I kind of like it because I ended 2024 and I'm starting 2025 with kind of an author binge with two different authors, and I would like to gush about these said authors. So I'll start with just one, and then we'll move on. The first author that I have recently become obsessed with is Lana Ferguson, and she writes both contemporary and paranormal contemporary romances. And I think the reason that I'm liking her, other than all the reasons I'm about to describe, is that her paranormal, in my opinion, is paranormal light. It's like paranormal romance written for people like me who don't like a lot of paranormal romance, but want those like slightly magical or magical realism elements. So I know her first two are The Nanny and The Fake Mate. And The Nanny was a huge social media sensation, and it was everywhere a couple years ago when it came out. And that is the one where she is the nanny, and she is also an OnlyFans star who falls in love with the father of her charge. So I have actually added it to my hold list at the library because I want to read it, because after reading her third and fourth books, I am just absolutely obsessed. And I'm looking forward to reading her second one, which is another paranormal. She seems to alternate because I saw in 2025, she has a contemporary coming out about a pair of lawyers. And so since I'm currently working in a law firm, I'm like, ooh, fun. So I'm excited for that for different reasons. The paranormal one that just came out in December from Berkeley was Under Lock and Key. And again, this is what I'm considering monster light because it's barely paranormal, and that's how I likes it. I just participated in a book club last week at Gramercy, actually, in Bexley, Ohio. And it was kind of a mixed bag of people's opinions on if it was paranormal enough or if it could have used a little bit more. And for me, I thought it was perfect. It was kind of a twist on the grumpy sunshine trope. The big thing for me is The pacing was good, and one of the real big reasons I love this book was it was one of the sweetest epilogues I've read in a very long time. And I won't give anything away with what happens in the epilogue because frankly, there isn't anything earth-shattering that happens, but just the way she wrote it and the characters that she included in it was just perfectly done. And it was one where I finished the book and I'm like, oh, that was exactly what I wanted. It was just enough of a taste of the future that I felt, satisfied with the ending. It was just a really good book, good writing. The premise for this one, and I am going to paraphrase because as we've been discussing at the end of last year, this is another marathon book description. So I'm just going to give the very briefest of overviews. But I will share the tagline for the book is a woman discovers that not all monsters are her enemy. The opposite, in fact, in this new paranormal romance. So the premise of this book is we have Kiana, who goes by Key McKay, and she is from New York. Her father has recently passed away and has divulged some family secrets, and she wants to go back to Scotland, where she's never been, but that's where he's from, to kind of look into things. So enter Lachlan Greer, who is your quintessential grumpy Scotsman, who doesn't want a grumpy Scotsman in their life. And he is automatically against having her around for reasons that I will not share because I don't want to ruin the fun. But the two of them have a lot of back and forths, and there are magical elements to these two that I don't want to give away in the description because I didn't read the back of the book when I started it since it was a book club book, and then I was pleasantly surprised. So I would like all of you to have that same lovely surprise element. But I will say this, it is fun, it is quirky. There's a little bit of a mystery to it that kind of keeps it interesting. It is very sexy. For as sweet as the epilogue was, it is a very sexy book. And I can tell from the 2 of the 4 books I've read of Lana Ferguson's, that seems to be her forte is the sex scenes and the dirty talk. So 5 stars on that front from old Libby K. I want to say that you would like it, Liz, but at the same time, I don't know if you would like it.
I don't know. So I don't like shifters. And I don't,
Okay.
I'm gathering that this might be a shifter
Yes.
romance. Either you're a monster or an alien, or that's it. Like there's no
Okay.
switching back and forth. I don't like
And
it.
see, and I think that's why this was palatable for me is that the person that shifts was not in that shape the whole time.
I like the main character to commit. Either you're a human or you're a monster or an alien. Okay. No
Okay.
back and forth.
No, I respect that. I disagree, but I respect it.
Okay. That's okay. I'd also like to mention that it seems like American romance writers love to write Scottish male protagonists who are really grumpy.
Yes.
And I understand because the sound of the accent sounds gruff. Perhaps that's why, they associate those personality traits.
I'm Gerard Butler. What's your whist means shut up. Bawbag, your wee bawbag is a scrotum, means you are a scrotum.
I'd love to know. I mean, are Scottish men really that grumpy and,
There's got to be a couple happy ones. I mean,
yeah, I would like to read a Scottish romance where the Scot is very sunshiny and happy and
kind of have it flipped. Have the American come and be angry, and then the Scots man or woman will be the happy sunshine. So, I mean, if I lived in Scotland, I would be happy.
That's more accurate, probably. The Americans are angry. We're an angry people.
So the rest of my Lana Ferguson obsession, book 3, and again, these are all standalones. Nothing is connected. The Game Changer, which is a hockey romance and no paranormal. It's just straight up hockey. It has the brother's best friend and / best friend's sister trope. It is fake dating and it has a bit of a celebrity angle because she's like a local celebrity. So basically, and again, I'm going to paraphrase because otherwise we'll be here all night. We have Delilah Baker, who is a baker. And I know that's a lot with her last name being her profession, but it really worked for me. It was super cute.
No, I can't handle this. Go away.
We have Delilah Baker, and she has a local show in Boston where she bakes. She's like a local news celebrity. And then we have Ian Chase, who is her brother's best friend and also plays on the fictional Boston hockey team. I don't think they're called. I just forgot the name of is it the Bruins? They're in Boston? It's not the Bruins. It's like a fake team.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so long story short, his image needs revamping and her show needs a ratings boost. So someone in the PR department has the brilliant idea to have them do some episodes together. So of course, sparks are going to fly. She has been in love with him forever. He is oblivious because that's how it always goes. But it was a different way with the fake dating. There of course were some cliches. That's how it always is. But I felt like there was enough original twists. And again, the sex scenes and the dirty talk, oof, like amazing. That I thought of you. I know that sounds so wrong, Liz. I thought of you during the sex scenes. No, but I
You've
thought of
mentioned
you.
that more than
Yeah,
once,
I
that
know.
you've thought of me when reading dirty talk, and I
Well, because I know you like it. So, but the point is, I felt like this was the perfect combination of like a sweet story about a baker, a sexy contemporary hockey romance. Again, this was no paranormal, so just, regular old contemporary. The thing I will say about both of the books, although this one for me a little bit more, great banter. There actually were some LOL moments. I don't necessarily think I'd call it a rom-com, but it was very fun to read. It was just really enjoyable. And so I am going to go back and read Lana Ferguson's two other books. She has a fifth one coming out later this year. So I think she's going to potentially be my new author obsession for 2025. So that's my rantings for the beginning of the year, Liz. What are you going to talk about with us today on the beginning of season 3?
I have Deck the Palms. So
Is this Annabeth Albert?
yes.
Okay. I can't wait to hear about this. Sorry,
Okay.
I'll shut up. You do you.
Yeah. I read Deck the Palms, a male gay holiday romance published by the author Annabeth Albert on December 4th, 2024, which was only published a little over a month ago, but it sounds so far away that this book was published. And Deck the Palms is book 4 in Annabeth Albert Christmas series. Good for you, Annabeth Albert, that you named the series after yourself.
Yeah. Now I have to ask, is Catered All the Way in that series?
Yes.
Because I actually read that over Christmas.
Did you? Yes. That is one of the books, and it has a cute cover. It looks very funny.
It's very good. I loved it. But anyway, sorry.
I've been, no. We can both talk about this. So Annabeth Albert is someone who's always been on my TBR list. And for some reason, I've never read. This was my first Annabeth Albert. Was that your first Annabeth Albert?
No, Catered All the Way. This was my second one of hers. The first one I read was 2 years ago. The Geek Who Saved Christmas. I don't know if this is in that series too, but that was my first of hers.
I believe it is. Yeah.
It was very, very cute. I can't remember the exact premise. They were neighbors decorating at the holidays. I remember it was, a little bit steamy, but it had really good tension. And that's why I ended up, when I saw Catered All the Way popped up, because I did the audiobook this time. And it was a great audiobook. It popped up on Libby.
What?
Libby, the app.
Libby, the app, not Libby, the author.
Just wanted to make that distinction.
Yes, sorry.
I think Annabeth Albert might be my 2025 fixation because I really loved this book. Deck the Palms is an opposites attract, fish out of water, single dad, grumpy sunshine, co-workers to friends to lovers romance between two middle school teachers set on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. And there is gay and pansexual representation. Here's what Deck the Palms is about. New York City musical theater actor Nolan Bell moves to Hawaii to help his sister-in-law with his nieces and newborn nephew while his Army officer brother is deployed abroad. While staying with the family in Oahu, he becomes the substitute choir teacher at his niece's middle school. Nolan is paired up with the grumpy shop teacher, Mary Winters, to produce the school's annual Lights Festival, which is a big fundraiser for the school, and it takes place during the Christmas season. As Nolan and Merrick work together, they fall hard for each other, yada, yada, yada.
Yada, yada, yada.
Okay, so here's what I loved. All right.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the book is only 246 pages.
Yes, and her other ones are not bite-sized, because that's more than bite-sized, but they're, less than 300.
Right. And the way I said it made it sound like that's why I liked it. But my point is that the relationship, the love story, and the small town island community that Annabeth creates within those 246 pages is extraordinary. And I kept looking, I was like, wait, it's only 246 pages? Really? It seems like whatever Annabeth does or however she writes, she was able to pack so much story and feeling that I'm just astounded by her craft. So the other thing is that it's not strictly a Christmas romance. So the festival incorporates a lot of the foods and islands culture into this festival. So it's not, it respects all different beliefs. So there's like Christmassy vibes to it, but it's more than that. And also, the festival is not the end of the story. That's not the end goal of the
Oh, see, that's different.
Yes, which I loved is that it's more it's kind of the midway point. It's just beautifully plotted that the festival is the midway point, and then there's something that happens in the plot that keeps it going in a new way. So I just love that. I was surprised because if you could surprise me in a romance, because I've read so many, if you could surprise me, like, then I'm all in. There's a lot of foodie talk in this.
There's a lot of food, obviously, and catered all the way also.
Is it a particular culture catered all the way?
They own a family restaurant and they cater events, and so they talk about like planning. It's not. I know you don't love event planning stories all the time, but it's not. That's not what this is.
Okay.
It's just the one hero is helping the family business, and so it's talking about like planning meals for the holidays versus planning meals for they do a wedding. Like, and again, it's not a pivotal point to the story. It's just part of what happens.
Got it.
But I felt like her descriptions of food, you know, it was more than just like, oh, they were having cake and champagne. It was like, ooh, what kind of cake and champagne?
Yeah. Oh, Annabeth must be a foodie of the highest degree. I do know that Annabeth did visit Hawaii to write this book, or maybe just visited Hawaii and then decided to write this book.
Yeah.
I don't know what came first because it's mentioned in the author notes. So I believe this food is truly authentic. A lot of fried rices.
Ooh.
It's so and one of the main characters' mothers makes a lot of pies, and I was just like, yeah, pies. Yeah, so there was a lot of I wrote in my notes for the show, but lots of pies. So there's lots of pies. So Nolan and Mary's middle school, where they work together, is a very close-knit, inclusive community. And I thought it was interesting to have small town, but what really was focused on was the community built by the school. So you got to meet different students, different parents, and it was all very entertaining. Some of them are kind of quirky. Some of them are, you know, a little bit like trouble. I liked that it was through the lens of the school community, even more so than just the people who lived in the town.
Okay. That's because it was a little different and catered all the way. It was kind of the one hero was military. So there was a bit of military people. They had the catering staff. They had the people at the event. So it's nice that like she has different ways of building that sense of community depending on who she's writing about.
I wonder if there's a military twist to each book in the holiday series, because there's a strong military one here too, where Nolan comes to help his sister-in-law because his brother is deployed. It's really interesting. There are children in this book, and I know, as mentioned in the episode that kicked off Jimmy, in Jimmy's origin episode 25, what got us talking about that was about how you don't care necessarily for kids in books. They have to really just know their place and not be heard a lot or seen a lot on the page.
Yes.
So there are kids, they are middle schoolers, so they're older, so they, you know, they're not, it's not the same type of annoying, you know, like 6-year-old issues that you'd have. So Mary is not only the shop teacher, he's a single dad, and he's got 2 twin sons. One is, well, they're both kind of trouble, one more so than the other. And one of them is actually starting to come into his own and start to recognize his own sexual identity. So that was really interesting to read that character relating to Nolan. The kids, though, are tolerable. I think you could handle them because they're either funny and or relatable.
I think there was a child, or at least mention of children, in The Geek That Stole or Saved Christmas. Yeah, The Geek That Saved Christmas.
Yeah.
And I felt like, again, written perfectly. It was like enough for the story, but not like, all right, move this kid out of here.
Right. So I definitely want to start reading more Annabeth Albert romances. And I believe Annabeth only writes LGBTQ, correct?
From what I can tell, yes.
Okay. So I highly recommend Deck the Palms by Annabeth Albert.
This is exciting. I like when we just organically realize that we're reading authors in common without talking about it at the time, because now that was on my TBR especially after Catered All the Way. It was just a really enjoyable, and it had like just enough of a cozy element for the holidays. And I remember when I read her first one, I read it in the summer 2 years ago. I didn't even read it at the holidays. I just felt like I needed a little holiday cheer in the middle of my June or something.
Nice.
So
yeah.
yeah,
It was beautifully written. The emotional journeys that each of them go through and their character arcs by the end of the book. I read it pretty much over the weekend. It was just such compelling work. So Libby, what have you next for us?
This is obviously not a new to me author, but I have fallen back down the B.K. Borison rabbit hole, and I am very excited. She has a new book coming out, I believe next month, First Time Caller. For those of you who are not familiar, she started as an indie author several years ago with the Lovelight Farm series. It has been purchased and reprinted, I guess is what you would say, by Berkeley. So you're going to see different covers depending on when you became a B.K. Borison fan. So I read Lovelight Farms, the first one, when it came out in 21. It is one of my favorite Christmas reads I've read in the last 5 years. I will continue to say that. Her sense of this town in Maryland, this tree farm, the people that work there, the people that visit there. I read In the Weeds, I think around Thanksgiving. That was the second book in the series. And then as soon as I had time and mental bandwidth to read new books, I kept going through the series. It's a 4-part series. And I won't go into all of the characters and tropes and everything. I will just tell you the lovely, delightful feelings you will feel when you visit Lovelight Farms with B.K. Borison. It is small town writing that has everything very well balanced. She has the townspeople are involved just enough to keep it quirky and silly, but not enough that it feels slapstick. Not that I don't like that sometimes, but I feel like it is just a very, and I keep saying well balanced, but it is well balanced. You have amazing sexual tension with all of the with each of the couples, all the characters. It's not an orgy.
I like the idea of a B.K. Borison orgy book with all the characters from all the books.
But the way that and again, she might actually be bordering on Emily Henry territory, because I get angry with how good these are. Like I finish them and I get like about it. I get mad. God, this is so good. I'm angry. The heroes and the heroines, everybody has a reasonable backstory, even though some of the stuff is cliched. Like there's a baker, there's a farmer. Like these are obviously going to be cliched jobs for this small town series.
Oh God, there's a baker.
There's a baker, but it's a good, of course it's a good baker. I wouldn't love the book, but yeah, there is a baker.
You know what? I would like a bad baker. You know what? I would read a romance with a baker who's not that great. I've been to plenty of bakeries that are just, So this person could have a bakery and they're just subpar. Now that subpar bakery owner and baker, I would.
The Meh Bakery, a book by Liz Donatelli.
What was that?
I said The Meth Baker, a book by Liz Donatelli.
The Meth Baker. Yes. See, now that I would read.
See, but actually, this might be cute for you. The one, her stories, book 3, the hero only orders the more bland option on the menu because he's kind of stuck in his ways. And I thought that was kind of fun because she's known for trying new things, and he's like, nah, the butter croissant's good for me. So it's one of those series, and you obviously read series. I feel like small town romance series can be done a couple different ways. You either have like the initial couple, and then they might be mentioned later and everybody is an offshoot and there's like brief mentions, but people aren't involved. this series, everybody is involved. It's not a lot, but you're going to get to see your couples come back, and they're going to have an integral part in the story. It's not just going to be like, oh, we went to the movies and they were making out in the back. It's like, oh, we're having an issue because of this, and they were here to help. And I think that really helps build this sense of community in the series that as soon as I finished book 2, I needed to pick up 3 and so on. So for me, it's yes, she handles all the familiar tropes. There's grumpy sunshine, there's fake dating, there's friends to lovers, but she just handles it in a way that feels simultaneously refreshing and authentic. And I am very excited slash terrified to read her new one, which is First Time Caller, because it's not part of the series. It's something totally different. And I also saw, and this is going to start a new conversation, so get ready, Liz. She has a some type of paranormal fantasy romance coming out later in 2025. And my question for you is this.
Yeah.
And again, this is not just for her. There's a lot of other authors I've noticed who are, and I don't want to say jumping ship because that sounds harsh, but are jumping to different tropes that they might not have been known for all along. So my question is, and not just in general for BK, but just for authors, do you think this is something where authors who write contemporary wrote that to kind of get their foot in the publishing world, and now they're doing what they quote unquote really want to do? Or do you think this is kind of a tastes are changing, we have established authors with audiences, and they're going to try something new? I'm just curious. I think I'm seeing a little bit of both sides of it with how people are promoting their books. Some people seem to be like, I finally get the opportunity to write about space aliens. That's not what she's writing about, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I can't tell what's going on there, but I feel like the days of this person writes this and this person writes that are over. I feel like now we're seeing a lot more authors that are writing beyond what they would have been known for with their breakout hits.
Right. That's a really, really good question, because my knee-jerk response is that they're just writing paranormal because that's what they're being told is selling right now.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a very good chance that these are authors who wanted to write paranormal, but were discouraged and told, hey, you should write contemporary because that's hot right now. And now there's been a paradigm shift, and now it's like, oh, go ahead, you can write that paranormal. What I find interesting also, as you've said, it's almost like now authors just write everything. They're writing, but typically authors who write out of their genre choose pen names, and I'm noticing that not happening as much.
Yes.
It's like these are authors who are known for a particular genre also writing other genres under the same name. So I don't know. I guess that's because they've made a name for themselves, under one name, and they want to capitalize on that. But I find that, I don't know, that kind of just irks me, because it's like, if you're going to change so drastically, go from contemporary to paranormal or from historical to paranormal, I do feel like you should have a different name. But
yes, or something that, because who is, and this has been like 10 years. Sophie Kinsella wrote with a pen name, and it was still contemporary romance. It was a little bit more women's fiction. But when she did it, I remember, because I was working at public libraries at the time, it said in huge print, like, I want to say it was Madeline something. Madeline Wickham. I think it was Madeline Wickham.
Oh, okay.
I think it said Madeline Wickham, the title, and then under the title, in almost as big print, it said basically AKA Sophie Kinsella. And so it was kind of like, it was like they wanted to put her name out there to get people to read it. And it obviously, she wrote a million books, so you would be able to, be familiar with her writing style.
Yeah.
But it's like, I wonder why that hasn't happened, if they're trying to get the name recognition, or if flat out that was a decade ago. Maybe that's not how the world works. And it's
I guess
like,
not.
It's a free for all, and,
Right.
write what you want and who cares?
I know that you say jump ship sounds, I think
Harsh.
it sounds harsh, but I also feel like it's kind of accurately depicting how it feels to us as readers, that how it looks to us. Because it's like, one minute this person's writing this, it's like, okay, now they're writing this. So it does look like they're kind of just jumping ship.
Do you think part of it is just people are more willing to change or to follow an author and change genres? Because I feel like when I was younger, I went through I only read mystery thrillers for years. And then I fell back into romance. And it's, I mean, I read both now, but
Yeah.
I felt like it was kind of the mindset, you read that was your genre and that was it. And now
Right.
I feel like people are just, and maybe that's just because things are just so much more available in all the platforms. And I'm not going to get philosophical, but
Yeah.
I feel like maybe is that part of it? There's just so many options now that people are more willing to jump to different things to follow people they like.
So you're talking about like author loyalty.
Yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
we
So are we what is driving us to read these books? Is it the author or the story?
yes.
You're onto something. I think that there are a lot of authors who have built such strong platforms that these authors feel confident that the readers are going to follow them, and the readers do follow them.
Mhm.
So I think that's a strong possibility because, for instance, if Logan Sage Adams, who we really like, decided to write a full-on romantasy, I would, I would read it. I'd follow
Yeah.
her.
Yep. Ditto.
But see, it depends where you are in your career. I'm noticing authors who have firmly staked their claim to historical romance who are now writing paranormal, and I don't know if those readers are following. I don't.
That's true.
I'd love to do research on that and see. Maybe we could do our own like investigative reporting on that.
We have like the reports back on what we read, and then I think we need to have like Liz and Libby investigative reports, and we'll have like, I
We
guess, detective hats instead of reporter hats.
we might have to. I think it would be interesting to talk to authors. Yes, we have to do. Yeah. I think, yeah, it would be interesting. Here's the thing, too. You know why there's such strong author loyalty and author fan bases? It's because of social media.
Yeah, that's true. Because, we can actually connect and,
Yeah.
obviously we have the podcast to have people on, but we can have conversations with authors.
Yeah.
And before that just never happened.
Right. So it is more possible for authors to change genres at will and people will follow them.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think
Yeah.
social media is a huge part of it.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is if we decided all of a sudden just to do like, mystery roundup, would
Yeah.
people follow us because they love us or because, I don't know.
That's true. Well, and that would be, I mean, we're not going to obviously, but that would be interesting because how do you talk about mystery books without giving any plot points away? At least, when we talk
that's
about
tough.
romance books, we all know what's going to happen.
That's true. Maybe that's why there aren't a lot of, to my knowledge,
Yeah, I think so,
mystery
because you don't want to give away anything.
That's a good point. We're really digging deep. We're
I
really
know. And
digging
it's
deep today.
episode 1. This year's going to be crazy.
I know. This is going to be massive for me to edit. Let me
Yeah,
tell you. This is
Well,
gonna...
I am done now.
Okay, you're done.
So, Liz, what
Yes.
other books do you have or authors that you have that you're excited about?
I would like to talk about a book that we recently discovered at our in-person Reader Seeks Romance book club in Columbus.
Ooh.
Author Kerry Winfrey. Kerry Winfrey mentioned having read and enjoyed this book, and I was intrigued and I picked it up. It is called Big Fan by Alexandra Romanoff, published by 831 Stories in September of 2024. And this is Alexandra's debut adult romance and 831 Stories debut title.
Oh, so it was first all over. I knew it was her first from what we talked about.
Yes. The book is 171 pages. I thought I should mention that. It was a good, again, Alexandra does so much in that 171 pages. It feels like totally, a full length 90,000, word book. A quick note about 831 Stories. It is a modern romantic fiction company. They also sell swag like on their website, like that connect to the stories, like t-shirts and stuff. And then, and then there's like product placement. So there's a mention of a necklace in the story. And at the end of the book, it says, click on this link if you want to like buy that necklace. So,
oh, no way.
Yeah. So that's an interesting kind of merch tie-in to the books. 831, according to my sources, is often interpreted to mean I love you, because when you count the letters in the phrase I love you, there are 8 letters and it consists of 3 words, making the number sequence 831.
Okay.
I never heard of that before. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? That was too much math for me. All right.
I'm literally sitting here, feel like I'm doing like Morse code in my brain.
Yeah. Well, anyway, there's an interesting meaning behind that. So 831 is a modern romantic fiction company that prioritizes pleasure reading and the genre's enthusiastic fans. Now, I feel they're disruptors simply by the fact the book covers are nondescript. They just have like 2-tone colors, and it almost looks like the book cover you'd find in a classic novel or a play. If you've ever read a play that's published as a book.
I was thinking of that from like freshman English class when you'd get like, and I think Penguin did them back in the day, and it was just white and orange, and it was like, title, this is your book. That's what that's what it feels like when I saw them.
Yeah. So anyway, let me tell you what Big Fan by Alexandra Romanoff is about. Political campaign consultant Maya McPherson is doing her best to keep a low profile after the public scandal involving her ex-husband's affair with an intern.
Oof.
Yeah. It's very grown up, walking into a political scandal in a romance. While working on a gubernatorial campaign, and for anyone who's not familiar, gubernatorial means governor. While working on a gubernatorial campaign, Maya is contacted by former boy band member Charlie Blake, who wants her to consult on his comeback strategy. So he's becoming a solo artist and, you know, he's found his voice and he wants to know how to present it to the world, type of thing. So Maya was a huge fan of Charlie's band Mischief and started one of the band's first national fan clubs. I have to just say, what a teenager this Maya was to start a fan club, because I love New Kids on the Block. I wasn't going to go and dedicate my time to creating a fan club, because in the book
But were you in the fan club though?
That's a good question. I don't think I was.
Oh, I'm such a freaking nerd. I was in the New Kids on the Block fan club, and then I was in a fan club for NSYNC because I had no life back. I mean, I have no life now either, but
Really? I don't think I actually joined. No. Was there a fee? Maybe I didn't join because
I think the reason, again, big nerd here. The reason I joined the NSYNC fan club is because you got preference when tickets went on sale. Because that's how I got seventh row center seats, and then me and JC made eye contact, and it like changed my life forever. No, I'm
JC Chavez?
You're darn right.
Wow.
I think at the New Kids on the Block, I was younger, and I think all I was excited about is like I got one of the big like dinner plate sized buttons.
Oh my God.
To put on my denim jacket because I was a really cool kid.
Oh man, I remember
I can assure you I was not.
You know what? We should go old school and create merch where we just have pins of the two of us. Old school pins, so people could put
and we wear them on our own jackets.
We wear them on our own jackets.
Anyway, continue with your
I forgot. Okay, so anyway, this
career.
So Maya, as a teenager, started this fan club for Mischief, this band, and also like created merch, was cranking out merch for them, which, yeah, anyway. As Maya and Charlie get to know each other better, Maya is again thrust into the spotlight, and Maya must decide if she's going to listen to her head or her heart.
Ooh.
If you've ever obsessively crushed on a boy band member, then you have to read Big Fan. You just have to, because how many times as a youngster you're crushing on someone from NSYNC or One Direction? One Direction, I think, is what this story is based on.
I was wondering, I wasn't sure how old the author was and what, obviously it's not identical, but.
Yeah. Although there is mention that this band, Mischief, was from Boston. So I don't know if maybe Mischief is an amalgam of maybe all the boy bands, because I read that Harry Styles was the inspiration for Charlie Blake, but Charlie is American and doesn't have an accent.
You wee ball bag. You are a scrotum.
I love learning something new when I read romance novels, and it doesn't always happen because I'm that brilliant.
Yeah.
But I
Liz
learned
already knows everything.
there is a platform, a cause that is really important in this book called Universal Basic Income. And I might be ignorant, but I had never heard of it until this book. So
Okay.
yeah, so basically a platform where you're giving a stipend to people to help subsidize their basic needs.
Isn't that like a Bernie Sanders thing?
It sounds like it would be. It sounds like a
Okay.
progressive.
That's why I feel like
that sounds like a Bernie thing. Yeah. So I really enjoyed learning about that. There's a lot of grown-up conversations, just very mature conversations where both characters are very forthright with each other. There's no weird miscommunications that lead to a conflict. The conflict mentioned is very solid, makes sense. Charlie is a sweetheart and he's respectable and mature. And so is Maya as this political consultant. So most of the book is like a hands-off workplace romance. So the sexual tension is to the umpteenth degree. So if you love sexual tension that does eventually pay off with some satisfying sexy time, then this definitely is for you. The setup for the sequel to this book. So there's a sequel called Justice for Cassidy, and Cassidy is mentioned in this book in a really interesting way. And it seems like it's going to be a redemption story for Cassidy.
Oh, I like a good redemption story.
Yeah, so I won't say anything else. I don't want to ruin it. Oh, the interesting thing is that it's written in third person, strictly from Maya's point of view. I'm not always a fan of single POV, but I really enjoyed it because Maya is just such an interesting character.
If the heroine is kind of on the whiny or immature side, then you're like, ugh, but if it sounds like this story handles, I don't want to say adult subject matter because that sounds wrong from what I mean, but if it's actual like adults, that would be nice.
So I highly recommend Boy Band by Alexandra Romanoff.
No, big fan.
What did I call it? Boy Band?
Boy Band. I know that it's called Big Fan because when Carrie Winfrey was talking to us about it, I went to Amazon to get a copy and I just put in Big Fan and I was given, 10,000 options for large fans for my house.
So, correction. I highly recommend Big Fan by Alexandra Romanoff. All right. Well, and that's our roundup. Watch Romance Roundup on Reader Seeks Romance channel and subscribe on YouTube. Listen to Romance Roundup on PodBean and all podcast apps. Thanks for joining us, romance readers.
Happy reading, everyone.